Hey everybody, it's your girl Age, and I'm here to talk about KinnPorsche, but not in the typical way that I usually do. I am here to feed the girls with a book review. KinnPorsche by Danmei. That's the author. I don't know if I'm saying the name right, but it's Daemi, Danmei. And they brought us this very, this story takes me on a ride, but I'm excited to talk about it. I wanted to talk about the original book, where the show came from, and what all transpired in there, and how it differs from the show as well. And there are significant differences. So, y'all know me, I love spoilers, because how else are we going to get into the nitty gritty of the details? Of course, it would be impossible for me to go page by page of the story, even though I would love to react to the whole entire book. But that would take up way too much time. So I'll start with things that stood out to me. So without further ado, let's hop in. First, Kinn. Kinn is absolute trash in this book. I thought I hated him initially in the show, but in the book, Kinn's behavior towards Porsche is absolutely nasty. So everybody is a bit younger in the books, I believe, or maybe I just feel like that because in the books, the boys are in college, except for Porsche, who is actually in high school because he's 17. And I understand when people say that the books are toxic and triggering because, well, they are. Like, in the books, the description of abuse is so bad, like the detail that she goes into. Kinn, of course, hates Porsche initially, but quickly, very quickly, he starts to fall for Porsche, like very early on. The fact that Porsche was not a pushover like the rest of the bodyguards kind of sparked that interest in Kinn's eyes. And also, when Kinn saw how sexy and beautiful Porsche was, especially when Porsche was drunk and basically almost naked on his couch a few times, that's what did it in for Kinn. So after that, after Kinn's eyes were open to Porsche, Kinn began to get more handsy, more aggressive, and especially more possessive of Porsche. And in the book, Porsche is clearly a straight man. He says that he is straight multiple times, but Kinn does not give a damn. He thinks that it's basically a joke that he's picking with Porsche, and Porsche really doesn't appreciate that. So Kinn proceeds to give Porsche hickeys, and he began to touch all over him, and he grabs him. He honestly believes that Porsche is his, the Porsche is his possession, and it gets really bad, especially at the end of the book too, which we'll get into. Porsche, his character is much like the one in the show, but he seems less happy in the book, and you can clearly see that because we get their internal thoughts, we get their internal monologues. Porsche does not want to work at the house at all. He does not want to be Kinn's bodyguard. He hates it. But a good 1/3 of the book, it's Kinn stalking him. He's trying to make sure to find the man that saved him in that alley back in behind the bar. So how Korn, the dad, even got Porsche to work there at the house was because their gambling uncle lost the house to Korn and his family, and they're about to take it away from Porsche. And that was all that Porsche had left from his parents, was that house. It was ramshackled, it was falling down, but that was his. Now, Korn gave Porsche a good deal by giving him the house back, and he also paid him a lot of money. And he also, I think, paid for Porsche's schooling as well. But the contract that Porsche had to sign in order to work there, and in order to get all of that stuff, said that if Porsche terminated the contract early, he would have to pay an exorbitant amount of money as the termination fee. How is that even legal? I don't know. Unlike the show, all of the bodyguards seemed extremely miserable and hostile, especially towards Porsche, except Tenkun's bodyguard, who eventually became Porsche's friends. Kind of like his, saving grace for even working there, because, y'all, they're so mean in the book. What? And then Tenkun, he is just as crazy as in the show, if not crazier. And if that can be believed, he is fucking dingy. Kim.
I don't know much about him yet from book 1. He isn't a singer like he is in the show, and in fact, they say that he's never at the house because he's usually stalking a lover somewhere. Also, Porsche and him have beef already, but we don't know what it is yet or why they have beef. But Kim seems to know a lot about Porsche already when we first see these two interact. So the Kim in the book is still very nosy, just like the Kim in the show. I also noticed how Ken's friends and Porsche's friends hang out a lot more in the book than in the show. We see a lot more of Tim and Jam. And it also seems like we get to know Tim and Jam a little bit better than we do in the show. Pete, to me, he's a little sus in the books. Like, he's helping Ken with his relentless bullying of Porsche. Not that Pete himself bullies Porsche, but he kind of sets up some of the scenarios, or like if Ken is doing something, he's, laughing or knows what Ken is up to or about to do, but he doesn't really tell Porsche about it. To me, it's odd, but he's still friends with Porsche because Pete, I guess he is kind of nice in every other aspect except when it comes to Ken. Maybe he thinks Ken's action towards Porsche is harmless, but clearly Porsche doesn't think so. Yo, in this book 1, Porsche thinks Vegas is just a stand-up guy. He thinks Vegas is a saint, and Vegas plays the saint role so good. He treats Porsche and his friends so nicely, like he's angel-esque. But in the book, Vegas's main goal is to fuck Porsche before Ken does, just to make him mad. He has this habit of like trying to sleep with all the men that he thinks Ken will sleep with first. I don't know, it's weird, but Vegas. He still wants everything that Ken has. And it doesn't help that Ken is basically pushing Porsche right into Vegas's traps. Now, the person who I like the most in the book is Porsche. The Porsche in the book is less naive than the one in the show to me. The Porsche in the book, he's not afraid to call Porsche out on his bullshit. And he does it early on in the book. He tells Porsche multiple times, you need to quit that job. Like, it's really messing with you. You need to stop. It's dangerous. You're the only person that I have in this world. Like, if something happens to you, I don't know what I'm going to do. Remember, they don't have any parents at this point, and they just like shoot their uncle away. Porsche finds out about Porsche's job early in the book than on the show. He also meets Ken earlier as well than on the show. I don't even know if in the show he even meets Ken, to be honest. And Porsche, he is so bold. He even goes up to Korn at his house. Y'all know this is Ken, Tankun, and Kim's dad. He goes up to Korn at his house and he tells him to fire Porsche. Like, you need to make my brother stop working here. Like, Korn's bodyguards even had their guns drawn at Porsche and everything. Now, this Porsche, I told y'all, he got beef with Kim, okay? He managed to kick Kim in the balls in front of his daddies and in front of all of the bodyguards as well. Like, what is going on with him? I'm so interested to know. So I can't wait to hop into book 2 and 3. And I'm not sure. I know there's going to be a book 4 too because it's about to come out as well. I haven't purchased it yet, of course, because it hasn't come out. And I think there should be like one more book, but I don't want to tell y'all wrong. I think it's going to be like 5 total. If not 5, it's going to be 6. Anyway, so Korn, he kept asking Porsche, come on into the house. Like, I'm sitting there saying, Porsche, you better not walk in them fucking doors. And of course, Porsche, he refused. So I told y'all, this Porsche is smart, rightfully so. Like, what did Korn plan to do with Porsche in that house? I know it wouldn't be anything like terrible or evil outright because he was looking at Porsche kind of fondly, like, just one of his sons, basically. He even told Porsche that he treated Porsche like a son as well. Now, I can see how that may be partially true because he is significantly nicer to Porsche than every other bodyguard in that house. Okay, just like he is with his sons. Because if the other bodyguards did half of the shit that Porsche did, Korn would likely have killed him. When I tell you, the sexual harassment in this story is off the chart. I could feel the anger Porsche felt while dealing with Ken. And even Tenkun, like, these brothers are crazy. Like, they're batshit crazy. Now, granted, Tenkun wasn't, like, sexually abusing Porsche or nothing like that, but Ken was. Ken became so obsessed with Porsche, like clearly abusing his power as his boss and tormenting him. Like I said, it gets worse towards the end of the book when Porsche, who got drugged, ended up getting, R-worded by Ken. And Ken thought nothing of it. Like, Porsche said stop multiple times. He even expressed to Ken that, like, hey, this hurts. And he even told him flat out of his mouth, I don't want to do this. And Kim kept going because Porsche, what was he going to do? He was drunk, he was weak, and he was out of his mind. But he wasn't out of his mind enough to tell him that, So I'm just like, you need to listen. Even if listen. And he's like, no means no. Fuck. He was unnaturally and unnervingly obsessed with Porsche. And he hadn't done that to any of the other bodyguards. I want to make a note of that, okay? Caveat. Big does have a crush on Ken. He loves him more than a boss or a friend, which I don't even know if they're friends. But yeah. Like, if you've seen the videos on the show that I've talked about, like, that you can kind of tell that Big had a crush on Ken. But I digress. Like, the R word scene was so explicit. Like, the author mentioned how the sex scene looked, how Ken had to take Porsche to the doctor, and even going to the doctor was just traumatic for Porsche. The author she did a good job explaining Porsche's, like, emotions in this book. He feared Ken, y'all. Like, on the show, he ain't really scared of Ken, but in the show, like, he feared Ken because he was afraid that something like this would have happened to him. And guess what? It did. Exactly what he was afraid of. That Ken would take advantage of him and that Ken would do something to him, like, basically having sex with him against his will. It happened. Now, I created this little scale from 0 to 10 because I wanted to. 0 is the absolute lowest, meaning I hated it and the book no longer exists to me. And 10 means that this book will be seared into my mind forever. I love the emotions it pulled out of me, even the bad reactions that I had to it. Y'all, I believe that books are an experience and the author has to move me. The books that I review, they have to make me feel things or enlighten me so much that I remember it in my day-to-day. So, that was my little preview of my scale, and I'm going to fine-tune it and make sure the numbers represent what I want them to represent on the scale. So, what rating do I give book 1 of KinnPorsche? I have to give it a solid 8. As hard as it is to read and as controversial as the topics and characters, I enjoyed the ride that this book took me on. I even cried because I was so frustrated, sad, and emotional at some points. I see the love that the siblings Porsche and Porsche have for each other as well in this world where they just have each other. Like, it's only the two of them. I see that desperation, that sorrow, and I also see just the hopelessness that Porsche felt in the book, That's what this book made me feel. So, would I recommend it? Absolutely. Would I read it again? Hell yes. Like, when Ken has all these just sexual partners but can't stop thinking of Porsche. When Porsche is scared of Ken, like literally like trying to stay away from him because he knows what Ken wants to do to him, and that's take him to bed against his will. And when Porsche like desperately pleads for Porsche, like, you need to quit. Like, I see what this is doing to you and I don't like it. Y'all, it had my emotions going up and down. So guys, that is my book review of KinnPorsche by Danmei. Tell me what you guys think of the book down below. Are you gonna read it? I hope that you do, but always remember to protect your energy and your mental health while doing so. Y'all, I'll see y'all in the next video.